Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 154. And I'm smiling because we have the legendary, iconic, this is not a joke. This is like real spill.
Yes, man, it's flattery.
Author, rapper, speaker, pastor.
No, not pastor. For 9 months.
Shepherd.
Yes. Okay.
Comedian.
Professor.
No, I want to say this part too, because I've actually said it to somebody else. Prophetic. You have like a prophetic.
I'll accept that.
Prophet. You know what I'm saying? A me show, better known to y'all as Sho Baraka. Give it up for the GOAT in the building.
So you guys couldn't afford to get the 116 channel? Was that out of your budget?
I mean, you know, times is hard over here at Reach Records. I mean,
no, it's not.
If you can let us hold something,
First of all, let me hold something. Like my masters.
I will. Oh wait, you gotta talk to people who own those. I don't know about that.
Oh, you thought I was coming on here just to be?
Oh man,
nah, it's just
if I had the authority, I would. We could talk, but I don't.
It's all love.
Speaking of which, I love how transparent you were on. I think it was the Narrative album.
Yeah.
When you mentioned something about my pockets is hurting, but being conscious don't pay the bills or something.
It don't.
And I was like, hey, shout out to more rappers telling the truth.
Absolutely. Yeah, it don't stop Sally Mae from calling. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's one thing that I try to be. I think I've always attempted to be myself because I felt like there was a stigma for Christian artists, especially those who came before us, to have to feel some sort of, to play some sort of veneer.
Yeah.
And I did it for a short period of time and I was miserable.
Was it on the Kobe Bryant one of that? That's almost a hit though.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you at a show and you had the crowd going. I was like, but a part of me felt like when I seen you, I don't know if that is who you ultimately want to be for the long run. It seems
right. No, so I think that mixtape. So I originally released that song through a mixtape that I did called "Why So Serious." It was Barakaology, "Why So Serious," and it was after my first album, and that was me just acting a straight fool for the Lord for about 9 songs. And K-Drama. K-Drama had Air Jordan on them. And me growing up outside Los Angeles, being a Laker fan, I was like, I gotta make a Kobe Bryant song. It's That's only good. Right for me to honor the true GOAT.
Hey, we just became closer friends. Kobe Bryant is my favorite basketball player of all time.
There you go.
The greatest.
So, that was kind of like the catalyzing for me to be fully who I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because you have like a sense of consciousness naturally, but you also have like a sense of comedy about yourself.
Absolutely.
It feels like you're very serious about serious subjects, but you don't take yourself too seriously. What is that about you? Like what?
It's just how I've grown up. My parents, my mother was I like to say she was a pseudo Black Panther. She was a part of the movement, but when she talks about it, she actually started it because she was just trying to get boys.
So righteousness. Activism for romance.
For romance. There you go. She was out here just flirting with the activists. So, but when you're around a particular community, stuff sticks.
For sure.
And so as we grew up, she would instill some of that stuff into us. And then when I became a Christian, one of the great tensions, and this is documented from artists at Reach, even myself and even everywhere, is that you felt like I couldn't be my whole self.
Yeah.
And I knew that I grew up, I went to a HBCU, Tuskegee University.
My dad went to Tuskegee.
Okay.
My parents met at Tuskegee University. Sorry to cut you off, but random story is very important. It's relevant, y'all. Don't be in the comments saying Ace be cutting off the guests. Because I seen y'all and
they say that.
It's been said, and I've made some corrections, and I'm trying to get better.
It's good. No, it's good to heed the comments every now and then.
Yeah. Just trying to learn,
and you get better. I know even with the Scott Free interview, you said that your goal is to become a better interviewer.
Yeah.
I would say watch my man, Hot Ones.
Okay,
he is one of the best.
That's amazing. Okay,
interviewers I've ever seen. So anything you are trying to do, study the people who are doing it well, because you want to be an excellent guest. I see so many great athletes and actors who have podcasts, but they're terrible interviewers because they make it about themselves. And the goal is to make it about the other person.
For sure.
And so just like Christian hip hop, it's not about us. It's about
It's coming soon.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that.
My parents just instilled in me this idea of you are a Black man who needs to consider your the power and the gifts you have for other people.
Okay.
Fight for justice. And when I became a Christian, that just only intensified. But I felt like I didn't know how to reconcile the two things in a lot of the spaces I was in. And it just took wisdom. It took people to counsel me and guide me and disciple me and say, no, Sho, this is how you use your excitement for a people under the auspices of Jesus Christ. And so I think I've been trying to figure out how to do that well. Not to say that I've done it perfectly, but.
No, I think I would say you definitely have led and had been not necessarily like a revolutionary, but you were early on talking about issues of justice and race in the Christian hip hop space when I felt like it wasn't popular to do so.
Yeah.
And you said you became a Christian and you felt like it was tough to kind of be your whole self. What time frame are we talking about? I'm trying to like give a little context.
Well,
for me.
Reach started in 2003 or 4, and I wasn't even thinking about rapping around that time.
Yeah.
And Lecrae released Real Talk, and then we did the 116 compilation. Tadashi did Kingdom People. And I was just around as just an affiliate. I was just obnoxious. I didn't wear the big T-shirts like them, but I was like obnoxious. but I was down to do the video production. So the very first video we ever did, which was the 116 compilation.
Okay.
I watched it the other night. It's embarrassing, but it's hilarious. And so I was studying film and television in school.
Gotcha.
And so in 2007 is when I actually released my album, Turn My Life Up.
Mm-hmm.
That 2-year period from 2007 to 2009, I think I was still trying to figure out who I was. Because not only as my social identity, but my musical identity as well. Because, I mean, for anybody who knows my timeline with Reach, Tadashi, Tripp, and Lecrae are all from the South for the most part.
Sure,
from Texas, to be more specific. And I think the beauty of the burgeoning of Reach Records was because of the Southern sound that they took that wasn't
1,000.
Prevalent during that time, because everybody was East Coast heavy. It was the Cross movement, the Shies,
right.
But they came with this new sound that was more abrasive, that was crunk, turn up music, and folks was like, "What is this Little John that sounds Christian?" And I wasn't that artist. You know what I'm saying? I was more influenced by the Midwest soul.
Sure. Say
Kanye's,
more. Like give me some comments.
Yeah,
okay.
The
J Dillas,
all of that. Like if it was Cincinnati, the Detroit, Chicago, Common was like one of my favorite artists growing up. You know what I'm saying?
What's your favorite Common album? If we can do you have one?
So I have two.
Okay.
I have two. So one is because of the sentiment of when I was in college. It was One Day It All Makes Sense.
One Day It All Makes Sense. Okay.
And then the second one is probably Finding Forever.
Okay, I thought you was gonna say like Water for Chocolate. But
Nah, Water for Chocolate is definitely top 5.
Okay.
But it's probably One Day It All Makes Sense. Finding Forever, B.
Sure, okay.
Like Water
Finding
for
Forever is great. Okay, so you were definitely pulling from like the
and
middle.
Kanye too.
Yeah.
So when Kanye popped, when he blew up, I was serious. I was serious Christian. I was like, I remember buying his album because everybody was talking about Kanye. And I was like, I'm gonna listen to this Kanye West album. And then the Spirit was just convicting me for listening to it. I don't know. We can debate
what kind of spirit was
we can
that?
debate whether it's a spirit or not. Anyway, but the point is this: in my own consciousness, I should not have been listening to that. And so I literally went back to Sam Goody. This is back when you had CDs. And you could
my goodness.
I went to Sam Goody and tried to sell it back. And he was like, bro, you've already opened it. You can't. So there was a dude who was in the Sam Goody with me. He was like, yo, Sho. He was an MC. And he was like, yo, what's up, man? What's up? I was like, but he wasn't a Christian. He was like, yo, what's up? I was like, yeah. And he was like, yo, what you doing? I was like, man, I'm taking back this. Because he knew I was a Christian. He was like, I'm taking back. I can't listen to this stuff.
That's crazy.
And he was like, well, let me have it. I was like, here you go, bro. Like, you can
You may
have
be
it.
the only Christian hip hop artist who has refused to listen to College Dropout.
But
bro.
yo, that was, but let me,
that's very
that redemption only lasted for about 2 years. Because about 2 years later, bro, I'm telling you, I was all up in Kanye, Jay-Z. I remember when I first watched the Black Album documentary.
Amazing.
And I was like, I sat there, I was like, I've been depriving myself of good music for 2 years. I was like, Jesus, you're going to have to forgive me. I was like,
well, he's already forgiven. And
exactly. So that was, but see, you also have to understand, like, this is part of the journey. Like, I didn't have a good, I didn't think I had a well thought out theology of culture engagement, of how to engage.
Can you say it again? That's just like, sorry, that's just
I don't think I had a solid or a healthy perspective or theology of how to engage culture. And it took not until after my first album, around my second album, for me to really have a grasp on what it meant to engage culture. And I'll give you a quick story. And it really happened because after my second album and after the mixtape I did where I'm stealing other people's beats, like this is a old school mixtape. I'm taking beats from different people.
Right.
From, Rayma Soul, I'm taking beats from Ambassador, I'm taking beats. Yeah, I'm jacking beats and I'm rapping over them, and some folks ain't liking it. They mad. That's hence the K-Drama song. But K-Drama, he wasn't mad. But some folks weren't happy that I was taking their beats and rapping over them. They was like, how'd you get my beat? I was like, don't worry, I got my sources, homie. So anyway, I'm feeling a little like, man, like Christian hip hop doesn't have a personality, I felt. And I was like, man, so that hence the... And I knew the type of artist that I was trying to be was an artist who made albums, who stuck around concepts and themes.
Sure.
I've always wanted to be a writer. So in the midst, I was writing a graphic novel called Lions and Liars. And then I remember having a conversation with Ben Washer. I threw out some title. He was like, man, what's your next album going to be about? And I was like, I don't know. I threw out some title. He's like, aren't you writing something called Lions and Liars? I was like, yeah. He's like, that should be
That's fire.
the name of your album.
That's crazy.
And I was like, yo. And so then I started working on the album. And in the process of working on the album, that's when I was like, man, what does it mean to be a lion in the marketplace?
Well, sure.
And what are the liars that are trying to keep me from being this lion? I went to off Broadway with the Reach Gentleman. We went to go see Screw Tape Letters. I write about this in my book. He saw that it was good, which you should go purchase everywhere books are sold.
Tap in, let's go.
Or listen to the Audible, which is amazing. Tadashi's actually on the Audible.
I say buy the book because
buy the book
so you can put some deposits. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I went to go see Screw Tape Letters off Broadway with I think it was pretty much the whole Reach. We were on tour. Mm-hmm. Max McLean. Well, I just kind of. Anyway, so we see Screw Tape Letters. For y'all who don't know what Screw Tape Letters is, a book written by C.S. Lewis, and try to make this story short.
No, go ahead. Yeah, you good.
It's a story about temptation, about Satan's imps attempting to tempt a person who's trying to be devoted unto the Lord. And after the play, we're off Broadway night. It's not on Broadway, but it's off Broadway, but still packed. The actor comes out on stage and says, does a Q&A with the people. And he's like, how many people here are familiar with C.S. Lewis' work? And everybody pretty much raised their hand. How many people here believe in the God that C.S. Lewis believes in? Less people raise their hand.
Sure.
How many people actually believe in a God? Less people raise their hand. And then he just starts to engage the audience with questions. And I'm sitting there thinking like, yo, this is brilliant. This man is on Broadway pretty much, the most secular space in the world.
For sure.
Using this platform that C.S. Lewis, a piece of work that C.S. Lewis created 70 years ago, to pretty much communicate a preemptive gospel, to like pre-evangelize these folks in a way that they may not ever experience a gospel message in their life. And I was like, this is how you engage
That's
culture.
Amazing, bro.
I was
That's
like,
amazing.
Even not by saying overtly Jesus, 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 and sharing the gospel. I was like, this is how you use your art to engage culture, to engage people who will never, ever into a church. These people will now walk away questioning, what does it mean to know God? What is this? What is temptation? What is sin? Is C.S. Lewis correct? Maybe I'll go read the book. Maybe that book will lead me to Mere Christianity. Maybe it'll lead me to The Great Divorce. You never know. And that's what I'm saying. Like at that point, I said, this album has to be something about engaging culture. And at that point, I changed the trajectory of how I did art.
Yeah, I think that moment in time, first of all, great story. That moment, it was... it disrupted, I think, the sound of what people were accustomed to at Reach Records.
Yeah.
I mean, Kanye had this line about if Jay is, Jordan, I'm his Rodman. Like, in a way, I feel like Sho, you do kind of disrupt things. Like you're on the squad, you're on the team, but you are the outlier in a way, and how you engage and how you create your art. And I feel like, I remember you said this line a while back, right around the time you had maybe left Reach. You said, I'm tired of hip hop being hijacked for evangelistic purposes exclusively. I don't know if you remember saying that.
Yeah, I've said
that. And I've always kind of like kept a memory of that line because I was like, it's so many layers in that.
Yeah.
And so it led me to appreciate how you use your art creatively to engage culture, be creative, use literary devices, and just make something really dope. So,
amen. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say the narrative is my joint. I feel like I don't want to go through the whole catalog. The narrative, Lions Liars was cool. At the time I was...
It's all right. Lions Liars, cool. All right. It's straight.
The messaging was on point. Amazing.
Yeah.
Sonically, I think the narrative is like top to bottom.
I think it's...
you was in your...
I will not argue with you.
You was in your bag, bro. So we gonna say more about that. Speaking of albums, we can get into the, the culture of Christian hip hop and things you have to say about it and say more. So this is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 154. I'm here with Sho Baraka.
Was I supposed to say Sho Baraka?
No, it's all good.
Sho Baraka. Let's do that over.
We're right back, y'all. Welcome back. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 154. I'm here with Sho Baraka. He's telling a story about, coming to Christ, creating art, figuring out his lane. And you said something that stood out to me, finding your social and theological identity. And you feel like Lions and Liars is one of the first albums that you felt you kind of understood how to engage culture with your art.
Yeah.
Speaking of engaging culture, you're obviously in my opinion, lyrically, you're one of the best in the genre.
Say it again, sir.
It's not a...
I'm so mid. I'm so average.
No, it's not. I don't even say that to gas. It's like, if you know hip-hop, rap bars, lyrics...
I hear you.
It's like,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Show's in there. Like, come on. Well,
the crazy thing is there are times when I feel extremely confident about myself, and then there are times when I'm like, yo, I'm not that good. I'm not saying that so that you can like feed me, but and I think that's the natural.
Sure.
Some artists, they struggle with that. Like they struggle with, like, yeah, man, I wish I had this person's voice. Oh man, I wish I knew how to pick music like this dude. You know what I mean? But that's why I think individuals like yourself play an important role in the making of real music. Is
For
that
sure.
you do a great job of coming alongside artists and saying, hey, how do we make... I know you're a dope rapper. I know you know how to put words together.
Right.
But how can I make this song something that everybody, and it's just not, and that's something I learned, is not just trying to make every line a bar.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I engage the listener on levels that they also want to be engaged?
Absolutely. I think you understand that. And even in terms of Christian hip hop, the way, I'm obviously, I would say I'm an old head. Like, I'm not super young, but the way we grew up on hip hop, the way we embrace those things, I feel like the culture of hip hop has, people want to say, gotten worse, changed. I use the word evolved.
Yeah, it's changed. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
So you've actually kind of been under a little bit of like fire for a post you did the other day. I feel like I wouldn't say I'm like we're best of friends, but I feel like I understand your communication style.
Yeah.
Your personality. Can you say a little bit about what you, just for the people who've been living under a rock, tell them what happened, what went down, and say more about the post you made that kind of got everybody.
So one day I got bored and I said, you know what, I want to just chastise Christian hip hop. No, that's not what happened.
That's what I felt, bro.
I engaged you. I felt that in my soul, though. I felt like you was coming for me. So yeah, man, I'm not tapped in like I probably should be tapped in, but I'm aware.
Okay.
And I have young boys around me.
Okay.
Who are aware, who speak highly of the genre and also critique the genre.
Sure.
And so over a period of time of being around these people, listening to music, and just seeing friends move and navigate, or friends and ex-co-laborers navigate particular things, I was just been burdened.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes what I do on my social media accounts is I do these videos at my desk where I address issues, but I try to do it in a comedic way or use satire. And so recently I did the 10 things that will make Christian hip hop better.
Right.
And there's a list of 10 things, and lots of people loved it.
Yeah.
Lots of people, here's what's more important. Lots of people understood the tone.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Even if they weren't like, yo, this is amazing, this is true facts. They was like, man, you're hilarious. I appreciate your voice.
Right.
Now, here's some things that I will, but there are some folks who thought this was an attack on particular artists.
Sure.
And I think, I honestly only paid attention to one person. No big deal.
Okay, shout out Dill. Yeah.
Because he tagged me, and I appreciate that. Like, I appreciate if you have a critique, tag me and we can dialogue about it.
Pull up, basically.
Yeah, right. And he did it in a very respectful way. He was like, hey man, like, I watched your video and here's my interpretation of it. And I responded and said, "Oh, I think you misunderstood that it's satire."
Okay.
And then one, he thought it was an attack on the younger generation. He was like, he thought it was specifically targeted to.
I mean, it. Do you feel like was the intent?
No, it was not. Absolutely not the intention.
Okay.
The intention was the culture as a whole. I am talking to people who've been in the game for decades.
Sure.
I'm also talking to people who've left the faith.
Okay.
I'm talking to people who I know who some of these folks are who don't believe the way which I think would garner true, authentic Christian fellowship, but they still use the platform for their own benefit.
Say more.
Well, I'm not going to say more in the sense like I'm going to say a name.
Not a name, but like
there are people who don't believe in the church. There are people who don't believe in some of the tenets of the Christian faith. And they, I think, but like many folks, even pastors, and we can extend this outside of just music.
Sure, okay.
Oftentimes when the Christian faith becomes a profession, you can't convince somebody to repent from something that their wallet depends on. Dang. You know what I'm saying? And so the issue becomes, well, I don't know what else to do. And so I am going to exist within this space, but I know I don't truly believe the things that I espouse.
I'm forced to repent from something that my wallet depends on.
Or turn away from a thing that my wallet depends on. Like, you're just like, look, like your livelihood is this particular Christian space. And it's not just Christian hip hop. Pastors, theologians, CCM artists. Like, I remember being on a bus with some dudes and me and another artist, and I don't want to put this person, but it was me and another famous Christian artists were on a bus with another rock band, and we were just excited just to like, hey man, like talk to us, you know what I'm saying? And they were just so antithetical towards like, they was like, yeah man, we just do this just to, and I was like, if only the world knew this. This was years ago though, so I don't know where they are now. But
how'd that make you feel?
We talked about it. Me and him talked to him. I'm pretty sure we got talked to some other folks. We was like, do y'all believe this, such and such? And we were like, bro, like this is crazy. Come to find out, I met gospel artists, same way. And it became paradigmatic of, I think, of an epidemic. What happens is to a lot of us in this space, man. And I say us because there was a season in my life, about a 2-year period in my life, where I was not living the way that I communicated on my albums. I believed with my heart and my mind, but my lifestyle wasn't fully fleshing out the things that I espoused. And what can happen is you can get so lost in that shame that you say, you know what, I'm not who I think I am, or I'm not who I claim to be. And you can just go to the pig slop and the Father's calling you home saying, no, return back to the palace. And you be like, but I feel shame. And then the world affirms the things you're doing. And you be like, well, maybe my talents can lead me to somewhere else. Right. And then you just totally leave the platforms, and the whole time the Father's like, no, just repent and return home. Right. And I think oftentimes there are a lot of people who have talent enough to explore non-Christian spaces, and they get intoxicated by that. Yeah. And because of maybe intensify that with the sinful life that they're living.
Recipe for
exactly.
It's you're right. See you later. It's a wrap.
And so my thing is, how do I challenge the space to, one, not to be intoxicated by it? That's why one of the points was mainstream attention, because it's very hard to be a thermostat and not a thermometer. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people go in spaces and they think that they can change the ecosystem. Well, Jesus could do that because Jesus was flawless and he had all the gifts. You can't do that. You can't just always exist in a space and say, I am going to change the climate.
Sure. I mean, I think we have to be dependent on the Holy Spirit, yielding to him, and
absolutely,
and also discerning whether this space is for us to be in the first place.
But I do believe that people should change culture.
I mean, C.S. Lewis. I mean, we can talk about the example.
So we talked about it last second.
So let's.
I know we haven't even.
No, it's good because I think there are some people, because I just want to learn. I think it's good for you to share the intent, because some people did take the post various. If I can read the room of the younger artists, they felt attacked.
I feel it too, and I get it.
It's like when you said bring back Jesus.
So let's
go through the list, and you explain what you meant on each one.
So first and foremost, mention it's satire. Okay. And the goal of satire is to point out truths or to present truths in an absurd way.
Okay.
So to say like, hey, I'm gonna do this. This is ridiculous, but maybe there's some truth in there. Maybe there's some truth, or maybe there's something that we can wrestle with.
Okay.
All right, so that's
so it's artfully done.
Yeah, and I do this with most of my videos, with most of all of my videos.
On brand.
Consistent. And those people who don't follow me or check for me would probably not understand the tone. So the first one, bring back Jesus. Now, when I say bring back Jesus to the genre, what I'm not saying is just talk about Jesus line for line. You can talk about Jesus and still be far from him. What I'm saying is, where is Jesus in the overall, like, how does he inform everything you do within the culture? How does he inform how you write? How does he inform how you engage, how you do business, how you do deals? I know of people right now in litigation because of Christians who can't agree on a particular contract. And I'm stuck in it. Other people I know who are stuck in it. And to me, both people will say, I'm operating justly. Somebody's not operating justly. And so reason why is because Jesus left the building, it became business. So if we're going to be about business, then let's be about business. But if we're going to talk about Jesus, then we have to do our business in a way that glorifies God. So anyway,
that's fair.
It's not just rap about Jesus. It's where is Jesus in the context of everything we're doing? How does he inform everything? And yes, we should rap about Jesus, not just talk about white people and white supremacy. This is just an example.
Talk about it.
But talk about it in a way that's redemptive.
Say that. Can you just...
No, if we're going to talk about justice and we're going to talk about white supremacy, talk about it in a way that's redemptive.
Because Jesus doesn't just
complain.
Just
call sin out.
He redeems.
That's the story of Jonah. Jonah was mad because he's like, I just want to call these jokers out. I just want to talk about people and be self-righteous, because he had every reason, because Nineveh was wicked, bro.
For sure.
They did wicked things to his people. But God is like, no people are too far away from me to bring them to redemption.
That's the gospel right there, y'all.
And so how do we bring Jesus back? So let's move. Move more quickly.
We can get as much as we can.
And here's the other thing too. The only two that I'm really, really really serious about is number one and I can't remember. We probably didn't order them here, but the one where I talk about the church.
Okay, let's talk about that part.
All right, so I am sick of artists talking about they love Jesus and they represent Jesus and they're Christian, but you have no affection for the church.
Define church. What
community? I'm talking about the people of God,
people
and that
God.
Doesn't mean like you have to go to a
structure and building
a building, but you have to be a part of a local fellowship. I'm gonna shout out my man AT. AT does a gathering of folks. I would consider that a local fellowship.
Sure.
Are you being accountable to people? Are you a part of folks who can call out and encourage you? But I would also challenge this as well. Is there structure? Is there polity? Is there some sort of governing body? Like, do you know?
Now you're going specifics.
Yeah. Because the Bible calls us to be a part of the fellowship. There is no luxury for us not to be a part of.
So when you say governance, you mean? Are you saying that?
Look,
okay.
So some churches govern differently, but elders.
Sure. Okay.
Are there people? If there has to be some sort of church discipline, how are you going to execute that?
Hey man, you shooting it straight, and I'm trying to. There may be some I'm trying to.
No,
I can't really argue with those. Is what I'm trying to say.
I'm like I'm willing to be corrected. That's one thing I told him. That's part of the. I told him, because I was like, man, first of all, I appreciate that you show passion. I want to be corrected and challenged because I want to grow. I'm a learner, bro. So anyway,
that's good.
The church. That's one. I don't speak on the behalf of something that you don't love and you are not a part of. If you are not a part of fellowship, if you are not a part of a place where people can speak life into you and you can speak life into them, you are not a part of a church. And I don't mean just your group of folks you rap with. I'm talking about people who are of the Bible. James talks about taking care of the widow and the orphans. If you ain't got people in your context who aren't in your same, who are, if all the people in your context are in the same social statuses and they do all the same things you do, bro, I don't think that's a healthy value. I just don't think that's a healthy fellowship, because you're not creating diversity. So anyway,
that's a real. I think that comment is going to challenge a lot of artists and bring some perspective.
Yeah,
because I think on the surface we hear you say, man, join a church, and it seems like a little bit of waving of a finger.
Can I ask you a question? What's wrong with joining? Like, what's wrong with if I were to say join a church, and that's what I meant? What's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with that. I think there is.
Let me ask you this: do you think artists out there right now?
Okay, I will say this: for artists who have a growing and or heightened public platform, in the little sphere that we do, because let's keep it real. The Christian sphere is still a drop in the bucket, right? Mm-hmm. Ain't nobody out here going Bieber crazy for nobody. Like it's not that. It's not pandemonium.
No, it's not. But it's
not
people
Beyonce.
Have platforms though. People have platforms. Yeah.
I have talked to certain Christian artists, and maybe you can speak to this, that have, as their platform grew, the gathering at joining those churches became more difficult for them because of the fanfare that came with the membership.
I sympathize and empathize. Even no matter how you feel about me and my stardom, I felt that. Real quick story. I remember inviting, I used to lead a small group in my house. I remember inviting people to my house. 2 stories. One, a brother took pictures of my house, posted on social media, and said, "Oh, yo, let me show you how Sho Baraka's living." And I was like, "Bro, you gotta take that down right now, and I'll punch you in the face." Second thing was,
or you get slapped and add it to the fruits of the spirit.
Exactly.
That one took me out.
The right hand.
I was mad at you for that one, but it's all good.
Second thing is a brother. How can I share this without being too?
Sure.
There was a brother who snuck his way. Who moved across the country, joined our church because he knew I was a part of that church, finagled his way into our city group, our small community, our group. And then eventually, some things happened.
Sure.
Which I had to kick him. Not only had to kick him out my group, but we had to pretty much kick him out the church.
You had to get church discipline.
Yeah, and he was wilding out. But he was harassing a particular lady in the church. But he systematically put himself in a position because he was trying to get on. And so anyway, those things happen and I empathize. And also I will say this in another form of empathy. Sometimes pastors don't know, or church leadership, they don't know what to do with somebody who's probably more popular than them.
Facts.
And I empathize with that. However, here's the pushback.
Okay, pushback coming.
We use that as excuses oftentimes too much. It's
a crutch.
It's like, oh, I can't because the people know me. It's like, so here's a part of giving of yourself to the community.
Hey,
it's not about you and your platform. It's about giving yourself to the community and opening yourself. You're not a star. Stardom is for mainstream artists. You are a servant of the Lord, my friend. And that platform is not yours. That's the bottom line.
Talk to him. I think I
it's easy for me to say because I'm not on the level of like the Kirks and the Lecraes.
Sure.
But the reality is at the end of the day, like the Lord is giving you this to not only for you to grow people, but for you to grow as well. And you have to learn how to steward. And both of those individuals I mentioned, I think do good as they can and they try and they, but I don't care how famous you think you are. You need to be a part of a church. You ain't God. You need to be a part of a church.
Hey, let's definitely wrap this up on the next segment. This is so good, man. This is very good talking points. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 154. I'm here with the amazing Sho Baraka. See y'all in a little bit. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius 154. I'm laughing because me and Sho on these breaks is going in on details.
Absolutely.
And we got a lot to get through, so I'm going to kind of speed this up, but I also want to call out how we're talking about just artists being more intentional about the faith and Christian hip hop. And if I can say a little bit to one of the younger artists who I have seen some of the younger artists, I think hold the faith well. Shout out Child Like Cece on her song Stay Low, where she said, used to be bound, now I got boundaries, which I think just communicates from a younger artist, a younger Christian hip hop artist, a love for the scriptures, a love for the way of the faith. And she's basically bragging about having boundaries, which is like so antithetical to culture right now.
Absolutely. And look, I'm not this curmudgeon. I'm not like this old dude who's like, oh, the young heads ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? I think I listen to a decent amount of young dudes out here, and women. And so, but the one thing that I would love to see is I would love to see there be a good balance of how we engage the culture and how we develop this culture that we call Christian hip hop with folks who want to be prophetic voices to the world, and also a voice to the church.
Sure. Yeah.
And you can do both, and
sure,
you don't have to do, it's not mutually exclusive. But I think what's happened is there's been an overwhelming shift to people who just want to speak to the world. And they want to do it in a way that is shifty, but then also can come off as, that can often come off as compromising.
Sure. I mean, because you said your post about the mainstream, like you said the mainstream don't care about you like that.
I mean, if at the end of the day, I would say I've been lately for the last 6 or 7 years, I've been operating mostly outside of the Christian hip hop space with the work I do. And not all of it's music. A lot of it has to do with writing, speaking, and academia.
Sure.
And if I can tell you, they don't care about how, because at the end of the day, it's like, well, what do you believe about this? And if you don't believe a particular thing, they will ostracise you.
Really?
And so for me, certain things I can't share.
Sure, yeah. So it's your belief in these things will get you kicked out the room.
I've been in spaces where I've had discussions with people, and no matter how talented I am, because they wanted to know what I believed about a particular thing, whether it be political, sexual orientation, then if they do everything short of getting me removed from the project.
Really?
Yeah. Or
that's yeah.
Trying to cancel. And so, that's why I don't think the goal is to get attention in mainstream. The goal is to be so godly and so Christ-centered that you put Jesus on such an amazing display that people can acknowledge and see your good, excellent work and be like, man, there's nothing we can do about the truth he's communicating, but we also can't do anything about his platform because we don't own it. We don't own his platform. His platform belongs to the faith. You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
And so I think in a lot of ways, that's where a lot of us started off. You know what I'm saying? I'm listening to, and this is not to shame even myself. I listened to some of my older music, bro, and it was just overtly Jesus. And I'm not just saying like Jesus. I'm saying Jesus informed how I talked about certain things, my posture, my language, my attitude. And I think there was a season where I just wanted to be clever. I just wanted to be known for how good I rapped and how clever I was, or even how smart I am. And like I said, there's always going to be a point where they're like, oh, yo, okay, but let me test that and to see where you line up. And so anyway, we can move on. But
no, that's really good, man. Like,
man, your boy Jacob is wilding out.
Shout out to Jacob Biz Morris. I've been trying to turn a blind eye, but the what you guys cannot see is a man that needs some of this list right here. Speaking of which, growing in maturity.
Oh, yo, I think
perfect segue.
I think Bax, this brother out here. I would say the alt that I have. Yeah. So to your point, I think there are some great artists doing it, man. Yeah. I've mentioned his name already, but No Big Deal and Tribe, Indie Tribe.
Yeah.
I dig. I mess with them. Monty. The brother's amazing with the lyrics.
Oh, he's
I
phenomenal.
love What Up RG, just not only as a person, but just his music. 1K Few. I don't want to put too much of our business in the street, but we're tapped in before he was even. You know what I'm saying? So I pay attention. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's some other folks that I'm missing out. But anyway. I listen to the old. I mean, I listen to the new, and I also listen to the old. But the tension is that I feel like hip hop is not just Christian hip hop, but hip hop in general. But hip hop has done a better job of this. I think we are stuck in this extended adolescence where we feel like we have to continue to reach the 18 and 20-year-olds. Even when you're in your 30s and 40s, you still make music that appeals to the younger audience. And I'm just like, man, like what about me and the other adults who love hip hop music, love Jesus, but we want music about what it's like to parent. What's it like to be married and struggle? What's it like to come back from infidelity? So what's it like to struggle with divorce?
When's your next album dropping then? I mean, because I feel like maybe you're the solution to some of that,
I mean, to be real with you, I do feel like I make the music I want to hear, but I can't. I'm the only one. There are
others. I see what you mean. Shut up.
There are other artists. And you made a statement about I was one of the first, but I will say there was another artist who I think around the same time that I was thinking consciously and dealing with social justice. Propaganda was another artist who was in that space. So I'm not the only artist. I don't even know why I said. However, what I will say is, I want artists to feel to. So here's the thing: you have to have courage to do that, though, bro.
I think you're
because
right.
I'm in a niche. The reason why most of these folks watching have probably never heard of me is because the music I make is not going to get me on summer jams or whatever the festivals are called. Because I'm out here talking about justice. I'm out here talking about race. I'm also talking about marriage.
I mean, I think there are projects. Shout out to Swoop. And
but Swoop is...
There are, I would say...
With all respect to Swoop, I don't think Swoop is getting those opportunities without the help of like being on tour with Lecrae as well. Like people... Swoop is amazing. First of all, Swoop is one of my favorite artists in general.
Top lyricist in the game.
Yeah. Like,
undeniable.
But even his music, in a sense, is, I think, out of the... What am I trying to say? The purview of a lot of the folks who try to book these major festivals. I'm not talking about like the smaller joints. And that's why I even go to one of the other points I talk about, like the community, the hip hop chapters and the conferences.
Sure, yeah.
We don't own the institution we operate in.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yes. Is
those conferences and platforms that do assist financially support artists, are the invitations to those spaces the bar of relevance for the great music in which you know that we need? Like, do they have to be linked together? Like,
I think I understand what you're asking.
Like,
is there a way that you can just shoot me straight? Like, because I feel like you want to say something, but you try to say it in a nice way.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is like, you mentioned like
those this type of music are lame, but we make dope music.
Yeah, and you're saying we're not getting booked there, but why?
No, I'm not saying.
Yeah, why the need for those conferences to validate this kind of music?
Let me make sure I know what conferences you're talking about.
You said some of the artists that make the music that, like in the Swoops and the consciousness, is not getting booked or placed on those platforms and stages at the conferences.
Why does
this music need those conferences?
Because if we think of Christian music as infrastructure, right? You get exposure because of the infrastructure, the touring, the people who manage touring, the people who do booking, the radio structures, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you guys are fairly somewhat of an anomaly. Pun intended, I guess.
For sure.
With this XM radio, Sirius space.
Shout out Sirius.
You know what I'm saying?
Shout out Holy Culture, shout out Trig, all them.
For the most part, there are very few spaces where people who make the cultural product actually own the distribution of that cultural product. And so it's important for the people who make the cultural product to have voice and saying, how do I get to these particular places? For the most part, it's Nashville who runs the pipeline.
Okay, can I say something to that?
Yes.
It has been. It was.
It's not that so much.
The power of the internet is connecting different pockets of expressions, creativity, artists. Even what Jay Monty's doing on socials. He's finding his world, finding his tribe. And I think artists that probably more aligned with you sonically, conscious, and lyrically can find their tribe
absolutely
on the internet. And that's the space. I think
that's how I did it.
Yeah.
You know, once I left Reach, I didn't have...
Yeah.
Bro, I left Reach in 2012, I think it was.
Yeah.
You mean 11 years of me creating my own space of people. And once I gave up trying to be huge, and I said, you know what? I have a tribe of people.
There you go, bro.
Who mess with me.
That's it.
Let me just be faithful to these tribe of people.
Obviously, let's try to monitor. Let's try to grow. Yes. But I think there is space. Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the pressure with having my own tribe. Now I have to pay for my own tours for the most part.
For sure.
Now I have to handle my own merchandising. Now I have to figure out how to get my stuff on. If I want to expand my space, well, how do I get my music on Siri on your spots?
Throw the narrative on the spins. Come on, Sirius, what's up?
How do I get on these spaces that control the pipelines to the audience?
That's a fair, and I think.
And I'm not saying what I'm not saying is that we should be running towards these festivals and conferences.
Okay.
But what I am saying is if we want, there's a reality in which there is a mechanism that helps people get audiences.
Sure.
And in order for that to happen, there has to be some understanding of who you are and the kind of music you make. And for me, I reconciled that I don't make that type of music. Sure. And I mean, my album got kicked out of Lifeway because of its social consciousness.
I remember that.
Right. They said it was because I used the word penis, but I think it was honestly because of the content, because I'm talking about racism. I'm talking about injustice.
It's a sad shame. That was a sad moment.
Yeah.
It was a real that.
And here's a little Easter egg, or I don't know, something. Yeah. The Daily Show actually called me during that time and wanted me to interview on the Daily Show because they wanted to basically shame the Southern Baptists for removing.
And you were like, album. Yes.
Well, part of me was like, yo, this would be great exposure. Yeah. But the other part of me is like, I'm not about to use this platform to shame the church. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like it.
So you could have probably gotten exponential. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, the
viewership.
Washington Post interview was enough though too. It was. I'm not gonna try to sit here and act like that didn't help.
I think.
But on top of the Washington Post interview, which made it exposure, gave him greater exposure. The Daily Show was like, well, we want you to come on, and I was like, nah, I'm not about to do that because that's just going. I'll be. I would be an accomplice to the mockery of Christ Church, no matter what kind of feelings I have towards the Southern Baptist movement, church, or Lifeway, and it's being a subsidiary of the Southern Baptist. I don't want to participate in that.
I think that says a lot about your character, bro. Like to just because on one end, I think maybe people will see you're outspoken, very opinionated, very educated, well read, very conscious, but you not like, let's go beat up the church for clout.
Well, no, when I left Reach, I think I left it for good reasons, and I realized what I wanted to do. But one thing I will say that I did poorly during that season is I wish I would have had better language on why I left.
Sure.
And I wish I would have communicated that better, because I think people thought, well, he wants to just leave Christian hip hop. And I did not want to leave Christian hip hop. What I wanted to do was to better explain myself or better present and be present as an artist who, as I talked about in the first segment, who came from a Black Panther, who went to a HBCU, who understood what it was to be married at the time with 2 children at that point in my life, and wanted to make music that encompassed all that.
Sure.
And I felt like at that time I couldn't do that in a way that was appreciated, and also wanted to work in spaces that were outside of the Christian music market.
Sure.
And I didn't communicate that properly. Sure. I didn't communicate it well. And I also damaged some relationships even here in the process. And so the one thing I want to communicate now is my overt love for the church.
That's
because
amazing.
I want people to know, like, this is the institution by which we change the world. It's not through Christian hip hop.
Yeah.
It's not through education. It's not through universities. It's not through military. Christ gave us the church so that we can transform the world.
Dang, that's
and use your gifting to do that.
That's so profound, man. To hear you just say that, and I think it's a needed reminder, challenge to all of us. Obviously, the post you made and all the different things, and. You mentioned that satire. Some people felt offended. Some people championed it.
Yeah.
I think now people can just hear you and what you really meant. And what I hear and what I see is a man who's just using your God-given gifts in literature and communication. But ultimately, you have a heart for the church, and you're just calling up the Christian hip hop community to
and let me say this real quick.
Yeah.
The reason why, and also the more recent reason why I'm so in love with the church is because for about a 2-year period, I was not living a lifestyle that lined up with my affection for the church. And I saw how necessary the community of God was to bring me to repentance and redemption. And bro, anybody out there who is not connected to the church, there's a reason why the scriptures talk about excommunication and let them go, because the hope is that when you leave the church, you realize that that's your only rescue.
Wow.
Like that's the purpose for the church is to be a safe haven. Is to be an embassy for the ambassadors of Jesus. And if you are outside of foreign land, you're mixing it up with the foreigners. Yeah, for a season it's lovely because I know the language, I know the culture, but ultimately you're to return to the embassy to see what it's like to be a part of the kingdom and to say, you know what?
Yeah.
Praise God that I have a home. And to exist outside of that is nothing but death.
I have nothing else to say because I think we could just put a pin in it after that, man. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius Channel 154. Thank you, Sho, for coming today and just sharing your wisdom and your perspective.
Thank you, brother.
And giving some light to what you meant.
The braids are tight. They just, look, you got the lineup.
Hey,
look.
Thank you, man.
You're doing it right now. The beard.
I praise God, man. He's good.
It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about,
praise God.
About Jesus.
Now,
How do you praise God for like the edge up? It's like,
because he blessed the barber. He equipped.
Here's one thing that Christians do. This look.
Go ahead.
Here's the next to top 10 list. Things that Christians do. And number one is like they always deflect. Like you be like, hey man, I love them shoes. Oh, bro, I bought these for like $10, bro. You know, folks be like,
it's like a humble reflex.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say this though. I think it was good that you came because I was trying to. I was like, what is Sho's doing? Is he throwing shade the younger guys? But ultimately I feel like this was good and a necessary conversation and just a little nudge for all of us.
Absolutely.
To make sure we're tapped into the embassy and find our home and our place in the body, which is what ultimately God created for us to find flourishing and restoration community. So, all right, that's enough. See y'all later. Tap in.